and welcome to the Inheritors, the not at all dramatic name for this new series where we aim to speak with the new generation of leaders in foreign exchange. My next victim today is Tabitha Smith, who is the head of EMEA Digital FX Sales. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, it's a pleasure to be here.
Could we start with a quick intro, please? How did you become involved with foreign exchange and what is your current role?
Yes, great question. So as you said, I head our FX digital sales team across EMEA. And in that role, we're servicing corporate clients and financial institutions. And within Citi, we've recently brought corporates and financial institutions under one global head of FX sales. And as part of that reorganization, we made the decision to combine our digital sales teams across corporates and FI. And really the reason for that was that we wanted to be servicing our clients more holistically in terms of when we think about their digital needs. And so you might ask me, what is a digital FX salesperson? It sounds like a bit of a buzzword, but essentially what we try to do for our clients is three things. So firstly, we look at managing the electronic distribution of FX pricing to our clients. The second thing that we look to do is how do we help our clients leverage our global network around the world to help drive growth for their business. And the third thing that we do is we're looking at recognizing that often FX can occur as a result of something else, maybe a payment or a cross-border investment, and so trying to deliver those integrated journeys to our clients.
So it's about breaking down those silos that traditionally exist in a bank or within a bank. Does it often, or does it ever happen that someone thinks that you're selling crypto because of the digital word?
Yeah, no, it's a good question. And I think part of the thing that I find exciting about the role is the broad scope. From a digital assets perspective, I think this is something that Citi is focused on. And I think as we continue to evolve our proposition around that, then that would be something that our team would look at. But yes, that can be a question sometimes.
But yeah, currently it's really about the electronic FX offering that kind of stands for digital. And you mentioned the reorganization. When did that happen, and how is this new hierarchy working out, or the structure? Is it something that's a positive, do you think?
Yeah, I definitely think it's a positive. I think in terms of the changes, it's been phased. So bringing together FX sales more broadly, that happened last year. Whereas from a digital perspective, I've been in this role for the last 3 months. So it's more recent in terms of the changes, but I think that the atmosphere is certainly one of excitement, because I think certainly within my team, it's broadening the scope of what everyone's doing. And I think whenever you're giving people opportunities to learn and deliver more value, it's always a good thing.
Oh, definitely. And how did you get involved in foreign exchange? Did you wake up as a little girl and go, I really want to work in FX?
Not quite. I'd love it if my career was that well planned. But so I started at Citi 12 years ago. Okay. I've always worked in FX. How I ended up here was actually, studying economics, enjoying that, the typical thing of wanting to focus on a macro product. And then I think what drew me to FX initially was one, the fact that we have a leading franchise there. I think whenever you're coming into a business, if you're joining a business that is winning, that's pretty exciting. And I think secondly was the people. In terms of, I think at Citi we've got a fantastic culture. And I can only speak for FX, but certainly within FX, that's been my experience. So I think that was what drew me to FX originally, is the macro element, the fact that we're winning, leveraging our global network and the people. And what drew me to digital maybe was, I think, the recognition that the technology landscape is just constantly evolving, which is quite exciting. And so within Citi, we're constantly thinking, how can we bring new innovations, new solutions to our clients? And again, being part of that journey is something that's quite fun.
Brilliant. And so that's kind of what's keeping you in foreign exchange, the kind of technology, the evolution. Can you tell us a little bit about that in more detail? What are the kind of trends you're seeing? What's changed from, say, when you started, or what are the kind of recent developments that you think are interesting?
Yeah, sure. I think the FX market at the moment is an interesting one. So firstly, just to set the scene, and this probably isn't new news to you, let's say, but if I look at the business across EMEA, over 90% of our transactions are executed electronically. So that digitization of FX, whilst it has been present since the whole time that I've been here, I think that's only increasing. I think similarly, if we look at how we engage with our clients, I would say that the majority either already have integration with their OMS or EMS or TMS, and if they don't, then that's a top priority for them. And so that driving that further integration is also something that we're seeing with our clients. And then if I think about kind of the market landscape, I think probably first half of this year, what's been of note is the fact that it's been low volatility, spread compression. And so in that environment, you see sort of an undervaluing of liquidity, but that also means that ability to internalize your flow becomes increasingly important. And that's where someone like Citi can differentiate in terms of with the scope of our franchise.
And do you, the people who are not yet quite that electronic, do you see that in certain client segments, or is it just sort of, the kind of long tail of people who are active in FX?
Yeah, I would say that there's a few drivers. I think it's market driven. So in terms of if you look across some of the more regulated markets, then being able to electronify that business is harder, because it's not just about the deal execution, it's also about the documentation before and afterwards. And that's something that we're focused on helping our clients with. So it's geography, it's client size as well. I think that you need to have a critical mass in terms of volume to be able to want to prioritize kind of investing from a technology perspective. So those would be the two main things, because I think across segments we are seeing that digitization. So it's probably geography and size. Yeah.
Fantastic, thank you. What are the kind of, when you look ahead, what do you think is going to make a difference to the broader market or to the area where you're in? Is it going to be new products maybe in terms of electronification, or is it going to be new currencies, or what do you see as interesting and exciting?
Yeah, so I think that absolutely, I think the scope will continue to increase in terms of currencies and products. I think what is most exciting for me at the moment is data. In terms of how we are utilizing that within Citi to try and service our clients in a better way and in a more as real time as possible. And so when we're looking at that in terms of what we can build ourselves, but also how we partner with our vendors or with third parties. And I think it's also been interesting to see the change on the client side in terms of over the last few years. Well, data has always been important, but I think that we're seeing an increasing number of clients now more actively managing their own data, coming to us with their data, utilizing third-party vendors to try and enhance that. And we very much welcome that in terms of it leads to richer conversations. So that's the thing for me that I think is most exciting. Yeah. But clearly there's, we only have a short amount of time. So there's a lot.
And in terms of data, is it the kind of use cases that you think will evolve? Is it maybe new technologies like AI? We can't have a conversation without that coming up. Or is it more about actually automating what's already there? I sometimes hear from people that it's just, you've got data in PDFs and Excel sheets, right? And then so there's quite a bit of automation to be done around that. So what in data would you say are the priorities? Yeah,
so I think it's, if I think about where the FX market is in digitization, and I'll come to the data point, I feel like the focus so far has been heavily on efficiency. And I think that we're now entering the era where it's how do we leverage technology and data to lead to smarter decisions. So it's not just about
cutting costs.
Exactly.
Right?
It's not just about cutting costs and driving efficiency. It's, okay, how do we actually use this to add alpha or bring value? And so that's the lens, that we're looking at it in terms of how can we bring alpha to our clients and overall. I think with AI, of course, it would be remiss not to talk about AI. And I think that, ChatGPT has generated a lot of excitement around generative AI. But the reality is that AI has been around for many, many years, and Citi has been investing in AI over that time period. So it's obviously something that we're focused on and exploring lots of use cases around as well. Yeah.
I'm really interested actually in how the AI in FX, story will go and what are the kind of areas. And it sounds like data is definitely a very primary use case, right? Just like sorting out the valuable information and that sort of thing. So is there something that you think could be done better? Are there any improvements that you can think of or you would suggest if you had a magic wand that you could make the industry change overnight?
Yeah. I'd love to have a magic wand. That would be very exciting. So I think one of the areas of focus for us when it comes to change is, I think we've seen as more and more vendors have emerged, we're seeing an increasing fragmentation in the market. And so one of the things that I feel Citi have been a thought leader on is our FX vendor review. Mm-hmm. So we've been doing this for the last 4 years. I think you're familiar with it. And the starting point for this was really trying to not quite wave a magic wand, but try to drive that improvement in how the FX market operates, very much inspired by the FX Global Code, and also by kind of frustrations probably on both sides in terms of vendors and our clients in terms of how the market was evolving. And so I think there's been a lot of success. We've been not just sort of engaging with vendors, but also engaging with clients. So probably over 300 clients over the last few years.
Wow.
And I think from those conversations, what that has enabled us to do is, one, give clients a better picture in terms of what the landscape looks like, but also have a more constructive conversation with our vendors, who are ultimately partners, a reduced list of vendors, to try and lead to improvements, whether that be around service or product offerings or anything else. So I think that's certainly a passion project at Citi and something that we're focused on from a change perspective.
Yeah, I mean that was a really interesting decision, and it sounds like there are quite a lot of results coming from it, and in terms of efficiencies, but also maybe relationships as well, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there was so much fragmentation, and there's still so much fragmentation. Are there any examples maybe that you could give around that, or something that you think was particularly useful as an outcome?
So I think probably there's two lenses to that. One on the client side. I think that where clients have benefited the most from this is being part of conversations with other clients and being able to better understand. Like one example I could give is around market execution. And so understanding the optimal number of liquidity partners to be utilizing when you're requesting pricing. Yeah. And so being able to show clients the results of how other clients are dealing with this across different segments, and then actually backing it up with data from our trading team in terms of what is the impact if you go above, let's say, 6 LPs. That was something where I think one example from a client perspective that was helpful, as well as I think the scorecard that we did overall of the vendors. Ultimately, a lot of clients at the moment are looking at what vendor they should bring on. Do they want to change their vendor? It's a big decision from a technology perspective in terms of spend. And so being able to have that quantitative approach has been very helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't realize that, the scorecard was something that the clients could benefit from as well, but it sounds like a really big help.
Yeah, we like to think so. And the clients tend to agree. We've got quite good feedback around it, so yeah.
Brilliant, thank you. And in terms of, client trends, is there anything new, anything that kind of clients are asking for that say, they weren't a few years ago?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that we've seen a change with in terms of our clients, and this is really driven by technology, is clients now, I think technology is enabling us to partner more effectively with our clients. And I'll give you two specific examples because that sounds a bit vague. So the examples that I would give is one on the corporate side. So when we work with our e-commerce clients, like marketplaces, often they're looking to sell products all around the world.
Okay.
And the customers want to pay in their own currency. But as a marketplace, they don't necessarily want to have to manage the FX risk associated with all of those currencies. And so now through technology, they're able to outsource that risk management to Citi. And I think that we're increasingly seeing that shift in mindset from our clients of saying, okay, it's build, buy, or partner, and more looking from a partnership perspective. On the FI side, we're seeing the same with some of our regional banks clients in terms of when they're looking at how can they, no problem. When they're looking at how can they enhance the product offering to their customers, and thinking, does it make sense for me to be investing in maintaining this product, or actually could I leverage Citi's infrastructure to do it?
Okay, great, thank you. So what does FX do better, do you think, than other asset classes, apart from obviously everything?
Yeah.
Any examples? And is there anything that could be improved, do you think?
Yeah, so I'm obviously a little bit biased, but I would say what FX does better is clearly from a digitization perspective in terms of if we compare it to other asset classes, I think it's one of the most electronic and automated. We touched on that over 90% stat earlier. I think also from a transparency perspective, it's probably market leading versus other asset classes.
Certainly in spot, right, and
cash.
Yeah,
exactly. Efficiency. I think the fact that we have an FX global code is also unique. And so that sort of drive towards standardization of approach of how we service our clients is also a positive. So that would be overall what I would touch on.
So before I let you go, I'd love to know if you see FX being part of your future.
What a great question. So I think when I think, I would love FX to be part of my future. When I think about my career and sort of my personal ambitions, I'm not really someone who says I want to have X job in X years. I more think about, is this a job that is intellectually stimulating, that challenges me, where I get the opportunity to work with great people? If all of those things are true, then I'm probably going to be motivated to do well at it. And then you would hope that sort of your career evolves from there. And I think once a mentor of mine said to me, if you're an individual producer, then the impact that you can have goes by how many hours you can work in a day. Whereas if you're able to manage others successfully and get them to want to deliver, then clearly the impact that you can have will go much broader than that. And so if I think about my own ambitions, it's to maximize that impact. And I think that for all the reasons we've talked about before, I think FX is a fantastic place to do that at Citi.
That's good to hear. And you mentioned mentors. Is that something that's working effectively in foreign exchange, do you think? Is that something maybe they could do with a bit more of?
So I can only talk of my own personal experiences, and I think within Citi I have been fortunate, one, to have fantastic managers, and I think often there's that blurred line between manager and mentor, but that for me has been really important with my career. And then also having those contact points outside of FX, who you can go to as mentors or sponsors to give a different perspective and encourage you to think about things more holistically or opportunities that you might not otherwise think about. So
great, thank you. And just before I let you go, have you seen anything one of the things that recently people talked about is maybe more cross-asset trading. You know, you mentioned sort of FX having more touch points or having touch points outside of FX. Do you see more of that, more kind of maybe correlation or closeness between asset classes?
Yeah, it's interesting. So I think certainly when we look at our financial institutions clients, i.e. our asset managers as an example, then having that coordination cross-asset is super important because ultimately that's how they view Citi. Yeah. They don't view it as a singular product often. So I think that is key. In terms of having one common portal, let's say cross-asset from a digital perspective, I'm sure that we will get there. It's not number one priority for this year, but I'm sure that as those other markets evolve, that is something that we'll see.
Once those other markets catch up with foreign exchange.
Well, I didn't want to say that, but yes.
I'll say it, that's right. Great, thank you. And is there anything that you wanted to touch on or wanted to sort of mention that we haven't discussed yet?
I don't think so.
Well, in that case, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much. It's been great.
Thank you.